Tajikistan, a Muslim-majority nation, is all set to impose a hijab ban on its citizens after the parliament upper house, Majlis Milli, passed a law prohibiting alien garments and children's festivities during two major Islamic holidays, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. The bill focuses on banning the hijab and other Islamic traditional clothing. Children's holidays were also banned to ensure proper education and ensuring their safety during Ramadan and Eid. Lawmakers have agreed to the new changes for the rules for breaking the law. These include large fines for those who break the new rule. Tajikistan has officially banned the Islamic hijab after years of it being unofficially restricted. The Tajik government started cracking down on the hijab in 2007 when the Ministry of Education prohibited both Islamic attire and Western-style miniskirts for students. In recent years, the Tajik government has promoted traditional Tajik clothing through a campaign. In 2017, several people received text messages urging women to wear Tajik national clothes. The messages emphasize the importance of respecting and making it a tradition to wear these outfits. Joining us at this point is Ashok Sajanar, former diplomat. We also have Zeenat Shaukat Ali, Director General, Wisdom Foundation, live with us. Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian, joins us live. Sumit Peer, political commentator, is also with us live. Let me make a start with you, Ambassador Sajanar. What do you make of this decision taken by Tajikistan?
I think in view of developments that have been taking place all around the world, I think it's a very welcome move. And Uday, as you said, this is a move that has been long in the making. You know, it's not an off-the-cuff reaction. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's not something that, that has been suddenly done. You know, this government, the government of Tajikistan, has been working on this issue for the last many, many years, because... And I have been in that area. I go to that region quite often to Central Asia. Now, Tajikistan is a country that is very different from the other four, Central Asian countries of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Kyrgyzstan. They are basically all of them Sunni majority countries. So also is Tajikistan. But in terms of the culture, that is much more influenced by the Persian culture, by the Iranian culture, while all the other four countries are much more influenced by the Turkic culture. So there, as far as the Arabic festivities are concerned, dress code is concerned, that is, followed by them. But here, they think that as far as hijab is concerned, as far as burqa is concerned, as far as black clothing is concerned, which is a normal done thing in Arab countries, that is very drab, gloomy, dreary, and they have their own traditional dresses, which are very cheerful, which are very floral, very different colors. So they don't want their people to don, be in such attire. And this government has also, Uday, been coming down very strongly on extremist parties, Islamic parties, because they feel that they are poisoning the minds of the people, particularly as far as the youth is concerned. So, even going for Hajj to Saudi Arabia by young children, that is also not permitted because they don't want that the thinking of these individuals should be vitiated in any way, and they should go into extremist thinking that is propagated by some of these groups, fundamentalist groups, extremist groups, and parties. So I think it's a very welcome move, and this is happening particularly in a Muslim country. So I think in other countries which profess themselves to be liberal democracies, to be secular democracies, I think there is a lesson for them also that it should be taken in the context of peace, security, stability as far as society is concerned, and use only such means and such methods and not have teachings from any particular religion. Because here also, as far as dress is concerned, the Western style short mini skirts, etc., they are also banned. So irrespective of any religion, but particularly in Islam, because this is an Islamic nation also that only those which are not harmful to peace and stability in society, those are the aspects that need to be taken, and else really needs to be done away with.
Professor Nalapal, let me draw you in here. This is a Muslim majority nation. Doing away with the hijab now in this manner. What is the rationale behind the decision? What do you believe has led to it? Is it something that's happened overnight, or was it building up, you believe?
After the fall of the Soviet Union and all these republics becoming independent, the Soviet education system completely collapsed. Unfortunately, it was replaced by the Wahhabi educational system, which entrenched itself in several of these countries. It took about 10 years or so before the local leadership began to realize the danger of that, and they started changing the educational curriculum back to standards that promoted a moderate view, and certainly not a very ultra exclusivist view, which is what Wahhabism. I think, Uday, we have to distinguish between the hijab, the burqa, and the niqab. Hijab is a headscarf. The niqab is absolutely full face. You've seen that in photographs in Afghanistan and other places, especially now the Taliban has come and become mandatory. And the burqa, which covers the entire body, including the head and shoulders. So I suspect that what we're talking about is a ban on the niqab and the burqa. And that makes sense in a sense, because you're banning, extreme forms of dress in some other cultures. You're banning this kind of dress in your own culture. I therefore think that it's a reasonable thing to do, especially in the context of ensuring that young Muslims get the benefit of a scientific background and modern education, and they don't fall prey to fundamentalist preaching of Wahhabi and Khomeini's doctrine. So I think from that point of view, the Tajik authorities have looked after their security by doing that. But again, I'd like to stress, I think we need to differentiate between the headscarf as such, the burqa, and the niqab. And while, for example, banning the niqab, absolutely. Banning the burqa, especially in education institutions, yes. But the headscarf, I would say, is not something that we should lightly ban, for a simple reason that it's worn by a lot of young women and girls, and including, if I may say so, young girls and belonging to various other communities. So I just want to add that caveat before saying that, yes, I think Tajikistan has acted well. Don't forget, the Taliban is close by, and the Taliban is very fundamentalist. And the worry is that kind of fundamentalism could spill across the borders. So I think from that point of view, the Tajik authorities have taken the step. And from that point of view, it's a wise step to ensure that the youth are focused in the right direction that promotes modern science, that promotes integration in the 21st century.
Okay, let me take that across to Sumit Peer as well before I get in Zinat Shaukat perspective. Sumit, it's quite interesting that Tajikistan has taken this move. You can, of course, comment on their decision and the reasons for it. But, it comes at a time, of course, when there are those in India, still wanting to cling on to the hijab, still wanting, to fight for its, for its use. Whereas Tajikistan, interestingly, a Muslim majority nation, is now doing away with it officially.
Uday, thank you very much for having me on your show. In fact, you brought in a very pertinent question, sir. The point here is that hijab never was a part of the essential Muslim practice. It was and always will be optional. It is not mandated by Islam anywhere in the world. So wearing hijab is optional. It is not mandated. That's the point number one. Most of the Islamic countries have banned hijab except Afghanistan and Iran, where it's more of compulsory. Other countries have given up with hijab. Even if you look at Pakistan, it is not mandatory in Pakistan also. It is optional. You want to do it, you don't want to do it. Again, in public places like public broadcasts and the media and all, you will see hardly any woman wearing a hijab. That's point number two. Now, point number three is, if you look at the Tajikistan right now, it is a part of the ex-USSR, the Soviet Union. They always had the Soviet Union. And I have not traveled to Tajikistan, but I have gone to Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. You can pretty much see a very large Soviet influence there, the way they dress, the way they talk and walk. But unfortunately, this burqa, niqab or hijab, this is part of the Wahhabi thinking. And Wahhabi thinking comes from essentially from Saudis. Because if you look at Saudis, Saudis run the affairs and Wahhabs run the religious affairs. That is how the power is divided between the two powerful clans of the kingdom. Now, this is a part of the Wahhabi thinking or the Wahhabi practice of Islam, wherein they mandate this. But over the time, I think a lot of people are realizing that by doing this, you're pushing people and youth to the extremist form of Islam, which might be counterproductive for you. For example, look at the recent attacks on Russia. The people were from where? Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. A lot of Uzbeks and Kazakhs, unfortunately, have been found in causing a lot of mayhem across the world because they are highly, highly influenced by Turkey. Remember, there was even an incident when somebody, Uday, it was your show, somebody was trying to get into India. He was caught by the Russians. He was an Uzbek. He was trying to, and he had some BJP leaders and some national leaders on the target. An Uzbek national trained in Turkey trying to come into India. He was apprehended by the Russian intelligence agencies. So when these things are happening in around world around us, it is very important that you essentially take the good things of the Islam. You don't have to take the Wahhabi form of the Islam. Islam is still Islam. You can still practice the Islam. And what I like about the Kazakhs is they're stressing on, what is in our Kazakh culture? What is a part of Kazakh culture? Let's go and do that. Let's not import the culture from any other country and make it okay. This is the standard. This is the de facto culture. No. Kazakhs are Muslims. You are Muslims in India. You are Muslims everywhere in the world. Now, answering your question specifically vis-a-vis India, look, here it's a political issue. Even if you look at the Congress manifesto, it is clearly said that we'll get those practices back. It was always a fight over kitab over hijab. I mean, they would prefer hijab over kitab because the idea is very simple. You want to keep Muslims backward. You don't want them to be literate. You want them to be a vote bank. You want to give them those 8,500 rupee guarantee, which will never see the light of the day, and want them to vote. You want them to believe that everybody will get 1 lakh ki nokri string at home and the money will start coming into your accounts. That has done the magic for Congress, by the way, in this elections. So keeping those things in mind, they are essentially, since the independence, they have tried to keep Muslim community backward. They have tried to keep them as a vote bank. In fact, Muslims have been the political insurance of Congress. To be in the power, they need Muslims to vote en masse for them, and that is what they have succeeded. When the religious thing did not work, this time they tried the financial thing.
Okay.
But essentially, when the community is not very literate, Uday, these kind of things stick for some time. But if the community gets literate, they get open, they have seen to a lot of openness in the world, they will not buy all these things. If you see, a liberal educated Muslim will not go in for a 8,500 trip. But unfortunately, an illiterate lady who has not exposure to a lot of world, I've seen how many people have been queuing after, outside Congress offices across the India now. How many people went to Karnataka to post offices to open their bank accounts? 8,500 rupees kab aa rahe? I don't blame them because that is what there's a manifesto signed by Rahul Gandhi and Shriman Kharge ji, which says that the money will come. Now, Rahul Gandhi and all knows when the money will come, but people learn that the development of the community is far more important than some retrospective.
Okay, let me take that across to Zina Chaukat Ali. Zina Chaukat Ali, you can of course respond to what Sumit Peer said, but what's your take on, why this has actually been affected in Tajikistan? Do you believe this is something that has happened overnight, or was this, a result of quite a bit of struggle there in the Muslim majority nation?
Thank you for inviting me to the show. I think, first of all, let me say that, I think it's a very welcome move because first, you see it, and as you have asked me this question, that it has been something that is, what you call reform in progress. If you look at this group of countries, especially Kazakhstan, and all the Azerbaijan, all the other countries around, you find that, very gradually and slowly they have been stepping out of it. And they have also had a lot of issues with terrorism and, with people who have come into the, used a kind of a completely closed kind of a burqa. And, they have indulged in terrorist activities. So we find that over a period of time, very, very gradually, this has, this move has happened. And, I think it is very welcome because for me, it is very important for women to be able to participate in their affairs. And there are many women still today who think, there are two trends of thought where, feminism and Muslims are concerned. One is the conservative level, which feel that, we feel very liberated when we wear a hijab, and there are others who feel that they feel liberated when they don't wear a hijab. Now, when a country makes a decision of this nature, it is a very important decision for for the entire system, because here you have government buildings. You find that over a period of time, I have a whole list of countries here, like for instance, Kosovo, Azerbaijan, Tunisia, Turkey, who partly lifted the veil as time went on. So you find that this move is not suddenly coming. It has been happening over a period of time, and as we are progressing, you see, women's participation is increasing, and also I think the mind hold of the clergy, is diminishing to some extent. Hopefully, still the clergy has a very strong hold, and unfortunately, as it has been pointed out, that although there is, no such word, the word hijab as used in the Quran 7 times, has nothing to do with clothing. It has to do with different aspects of understanding that I have written about and spoken very much on your channel also. So you see, this kind of a grip on the mind that has an overlap, I would say, between culture and religion. You see, an overlap and a sort of a nexus, a coming together of both of them. So here, I think this is something that what the Turkish, the Kazakhstanis are saying, that yes, we would like to have a decent dress of our own culture, which I think is fair enough. There is, I think it's very welcome, and it gives a wider range to women, to dress the way they want. And there's just one thing I want to clarify is that, it was mentioned by one of the panelists about Saudi Arabia and, the Wahhabi culture. But I would like you to know that in 2019, there was, this very well-known Honorable Sheikh Abdullah Al-Mutallaq. And we know that, MBS himself is
Yes.
a very progressive person. And he brought about, and he went on to say that the abaya is no longer compulsory. It is not mandatory for even Arab women to wear that. And I think very few people know that in the Arab world also this change has definitely come in. You may not be, there are certain restrictions. For example, you may not wear mini skirts, or you may not wear off the shoulders, but you wear a decent garment. And it is said that, and the reason that he gave is that there are people all over the world, women all over the world, who are very decently clad and who do not use the traditional abaya. What does it mean? It doesn't mean that those women are not as equal or equally good to the other women. So I think that this tradition is wearing off, and very strongly in Saudi Arabia itself, very gradually coming into the Middle Eastern countries. And you have some no less a person than the Sheikh of the Al-Azhar University, called Muhammad Sayyid Tahtawi, who is the Grand Imam and the rector of the Al-Azhar University, who made it very, very clear that this kind of the kind of words that we have used, for instance, that some of you have mentioned, khimar, hijab, chador, niqab, and, the dupatta, very various kinds of ways in which you keep women away, that you make women invisible, that you don't give women the space that they need to operate and to work. So you find that in these countries, in institutions like, for instance, government buildings, in government institutions, in educational institutions, there has been a certain restriction. There has been a certain ban brought about by a number of countries. And a number of Muslim countries, Muslim-dominated countries like Indonesia, for instance, there is no mandatory veiling at all. So, very gradually and very slowly, this idea is creeping in. And I think I would say it is very welcome in Kazakhstan. And, that they want their own culture. They want their women to be dressed in their own culture. Why would we impose another culture? And, that has even been said by the Saudis,
Yes.
that, why do you imitate? So I think I find that this is a very welcome happening.
Yes, it certainly is a welcome happening. Do you see this now progressing to other countries there around that, around Tajikistan, Professor Nalapat, or is it too early to say that? Is this a movement now?
spreading. There is very little that we really know, but as we go into the interiors,
Yeah.
as we visit, as people interact.
Okay, Zina Chaudhary, that question was for Professor Nalapat. Professor Nalapat, why don't you take that?
Sorry.
Yeah, look, as Zinaji has very correctly said, the injunction is for dressing modestly, and obviously in 2024, what is modest? A headscarf would be very modest, covering the head. So it is also enjoined that you should constantly have independent thinking and constantly renew and refresh your thinking in accordance with changing times. So unfortunately, what has happened is there are some clerics who are who do not want any reform in thinking, who do not want any kind of change that would be beneficial in a modern context. And they have been saying that no, the injunction is that you have to dress fully in a burqa or in a niqab, where covering even your eyes. And that's an entirely wrong interpretation. So I just want to say that finally a correct interpretation is coming out. In the case of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman has been leading the reform.
Yes.
And he has done very much to liberate women from the shackles of classic clericalism, and generated a whole lot of new clerics who accept that it's important to adjust and accommodate so that you can function properly in the world. So yes I do believe, Uday, that this is going to spread.
Okay, 30 seconds. Ambassador Sajjan, our last word to you.
Yeah, to respond to your earlier question, I don't think that the countries in the vicinity of Tajikistan are going in that direction. You see, here we have to see, it is not that hijab, etc., is not being made mandatory. It is being banned.
Right.
You cannot wear hijab. I think that is a very important aspect to take note of, and I think that is what we need to see. It's a very welcome move.
Yeah.
It is being banned because it sort of, sends out different ideologies. It promotes different ideologies. Now, there is a lot of funding, a lot of money. As I said, I have been to these countries, and very often there is a lot of funding coming to, for instance, countries like Kyrgyzstan, or a little less in Uzbekistan, etc. But this is coming from Qatar, this is coming from Saudi Arabia, and there is promotion of this. So I don't think it is going to happen there.
All right.
But needs to be welcomed.
My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.